Hey, what's up guys? This is Dr. Ryan. This is your 5 minutes of fire this morning. We just got done with Maximize Living seminar yesterday and it was amazing, phenomenal. We had Chiropractic Titan Billy DeMoss come and speak and just melted our faces for an hour straight. Had several of my friends and colleagues who are seeing thousands a week just pour out wisdom, inspiration, knowledge, tips to help patients get better outcomes, tips to help your practice run smoother. Just, literally 3 straight days of like drinking from a fire hose of information. So I feel super blessed to, I've been a part of that. And the thing that I was thinking about this morning is, I think we live in a society that is all about consumption. We consume food, we consume material things, we consume credit card debt, we consume all this stuff. And the problem is I don't feel like we have a relative amount to show for what we are consuming. We consume all this information, but we're not, what we produce as a product of that information isn't relative to the amount of information that we're consuming. And I do this too. I'm the king of reading 4 or 5 books at once, 4 or 5 podcasts. This morning, listened to a sermon after 3 straight days, and that's after, or 3 straight days of information, an hour-long sermon. That's after reading Bible for a half hour, reading something inspirational for 15 minutes, journaling, all this stuff. But none of it really has anything to do with taking action. It's all about just consuming it, putting it in my brain. I do think there's something to be said for, filling yourself up and then just letting God and your innate wisdom or intelligence, manifest that in maybe an unpredictable or, not measurable way. But at the same time, or on the other hand, I think for the majority of us, we consume way more than we produce. And so the concept for today is, what are you going to do about it? After a long seminar, what am I going to do about it? If I go back on Monday and things stay the same, then it was a big waste of time. If I listen to a sermon on Sunday and I go home and nothing changes, then what was the point? It was just, at that point, it's just entertainment. Are you entertaining yourself with personal growth development and calling it, that you're trying to better yourself? And I do that too. It's like, oh, I'm all about personal growth. Well, it's not really growth unless you can measure it. It's like in your garden. If you're out there pulling weeds and tilling the ground and tending your garden, but you're not seeing any additional fruit, then what are you doing? It's a waste of time. It's more of a hobby. It's more entertainment. It's not actually, setting yourself up for growth and a harvest. So, a couple of things that I do, or one main thing I should say, that I found to be really helpful, whether it's going to a seminar, listening to a sermon, going to a class, reading a book, podcast, is I use Wunderlist. You can use Evernote, you can use a piece of paper, you can just use your notes app on your phone. But I use Wunderlist because it's like a task management app or a checklist app. And I try to narrow it down to one thing. I think it's really easy, especially if you're at a good seminar or a good sermon, which I've been blessed to be a part of both for years now, just pastors and speakers that are, become my mentors, and books too. The trap is that we take like 6 or 7 pages of notes, and it's all great stuff. Every single note, is probably life-changing. The problem is if you go home with 5 or 6 pages of notes, the chances of you doing all that is slim to none, obviously, number one. But number two is because there's so much, subconsciously it's overwhelming, and you feel like, what's the point? If I can't do all of it, I might as well not do anything. And people get stuck with this with their health, with weight loss, with addiction, with relationships. I think we have this mentality, if we can't do all of it, we shouldn't do any of it, and that's just not true. The path to success is one step at a time. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. We've all heard that. So the point is, use some kind of note-taking system or software. Again, I like Wunderlist. It's free. You can set timelines. You can set priorities in terms of your lists. You can create different types of lists. And then the thing is, try to narrow it down. When you go to a seminar, when you listen to a class, if you're a patient, you come to a workshop, just leave with one action step, and at the most, maybe 3, but prioritize them and make them so that if all I do is accomplish priority number 1, then the seminar was a success. The thousands of dollars I paid, the hours that I spent, you know, the time that it took to do this, or whatever the case is, what I gave up to be there. You know, a lot of this stuff's free. It's just that the opportunity cost is when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So it's not just about getting your money's worth, but it's about getting your time and attention's worth too. So write down the one thing that you're gonna do. So today's Sunday, if you go to church, write down the one thing from the sermon that you're actually gonna take action on, and don't focus on the rest of it. If you get to that, great, you've got a higher capacity than most probably, but write down the one action step that if you took action on that, your life would actually change. Then all this work that you're putting into growing yourself and becoming better and learning will actually manifest into fruit in your life. So I hope that helps you today. Happy Sunday. Take action.